I've just bought two cars from BCA auction to do them up and flip them for a profit, and the first car to collect is the Mazda 2. I've got to pick the other car up on Monday. This car's due an MOT. The MOT is due next month, so fingers crossed it passes, but driving it a second ago, there's a couple of issues that I just found out. It's a 2010 Mazda 2 with 76,000 miles on the clock, right? This has a knock coming from the front right, so it's probably going to need 2 drop links. That's about it. The engine runs good, the gearbox is good, the car drives really well apart from the knocking. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but over big bumps, it's got a knocks. There you go, I don't know if you heard that then. The car's MOT is up in a couple of days, so I booked the MOT for the same day I collected the car, but I know it's going to fail now. So I've just arrived at the garage, it's just right in there, and I feel like the car's going to fail MOT, guys. I feel like it's going to fail it on some shock absorbers, probably. I'm not sure. At least when it fails, I know what it needs to fix it, so fingers crossed it's not too much. I feel like this car is going to be a money pit. So the results are in. Has the Mazda 2 passed MOT? Guys, as I thought, it bloody failed the MOT, guys, but it wasn't anything too major. It failed on suspension arm, ball joint, excessively worn, offside front. So that's where the knocking's coming from, the suspension arm on this side. And it failed on a light bulb at the front, basically, the parking light bulb. So that's 2 easy fixes, so let's fix it. And hopefully the second car I collect has no issues, because that car has got MOT until October, but that car's got high mileage. It's now Monday and time to collect the second car that I bought. So I've just arrived at BCA auction Bridgewater to collect that car that I just bought, the Astra. So I've got to go inside to get the keys, and fingers crossed everything's alright with that car, because it has 124,000 miles on the clock, so I'm a bit nervous. And earlier on I collected all the parts for the Mazda 2 so it could pass MOT, so we've got to do that as well. So this is the car that I've bought, a 2014 Vauxhall Astra, but it looks like it's got a massive coolant leak, because if you look at the coolant expansion tank, there isn't any coolant there, and also in the tank there's no coolant in the tank. This is the BCA auction essential check, and it says nothing about a coolant leak or low coolant, so whoever checked this car did not do their job properly. So both cars I've bought have issues. I don't even know if I can make it home. It looks like coolant's literally exploded all over here as well. I've got some coolant, so let's put it in there. At this point I'm really worried that I'm not going to make it home, but I have an hour's drive back, so hopefully I make it, fingers crossed. Right, let's give the engine a start up to see how the car sounds. So the engine runs good, but looks like there's a coolant leak which I'm going to have to sort out. So it's time for the first drive. Hopefully I can make it home to then get a new coolant tank, and hopefully that solves the issue. Hopefully it's not a bigger issue. So far so good driving wise. I'm just worried about the coolant, so I'm going to check it when I get to the petrol station, which is just down the road, to just see what's going on. Right guys, we're about to go on the motorway, so wish me luck. Hopefully the coolant can last until I get home. Hopefully it doesn't just start squirting out the coolant tank, because I know once the coolant builds pressure, it's going to squirt everywhere. So I've been on the motorway for 20 minutes now, and the temperature gauge hasn't moved, which is really good, so hopefully we make it back. So the Astra made it back, it's just parked up there. Now it's time to get started with the Mazda 2 to get it through this MOT. So I've got all the parts. Let me show you what parts I've got. So as you can see, I've got all my tools out. So I've got the control arm, I've also got a bulb as well, and I bought some new hubcaps. I went for some black hubcaps for the car because on the other side it's got missing hubcaps. So let's get started with doing this control arm. Wish me luck. Let's get this control arm done. The first thing to do is to jack the car up and put the axle stand underneath. So this is the issue. Look at the movement. There's a lot of movement in the arm, as you guys can see, and you can hear that knocking. So I've just taken this bolt out. Let's get the other one out. So next I need to get this nut and bolt off, but I've got this wire brush to just brush it off so that it doesn't get stuck or anything like that when I'm taking it off. So I've just put some WD-40 on it and hopefully it comes off. So this is the last thing to do to get the control arm out. So I'm just using the leverage of my breaker bar to get the ball joint out. Alright, let's try and get the arm out. And this bit was quite fiddly. I was there for a few minutes trying to get this arm out, but I got it out in the end. Right, let's make sure the new one matches the old one. Alright, so that matches, that is good, but look at this bush here, that is gone guys, that is terrible, look at that, that bush is gone. So that was such a headache to get this arm in, but I done it, flipping out mate, it took me about an hour to get this thing in, but I've hammered it in the end, so let's just get it all back together now. Right, so everything's been put back together. It's time to put the wheel on now. Let's put this wheel back on and go for a drive to see if we've actually fixed this issue. But at least one thing's now ticked off the bucket list. The next thing to do is that bulb. So the control arm's done, the next thing to fit is the bulb. So to get to the bulb, I had to take the battery out, and as you can see, here is the blown bulb. Right, let's put the new bulb in. Hopefully it flipping works. And I got it back here where it came from. So everything's been put back together. Let's check if the light works or not. The light is now working. Don't know if you guys can see it, but it's now working both sides. So I've fixed all the MOT advisories. The next thing to do now is to put on the new hubcaps, and then we've got to get started on the other car. I'm giving the steelers a quick clean before I start respraying them gloss black, but it's just a quick job because I have so much things to do today. It's now the next day and it's time to solve the coolant leak on the Astra. It's now Tuesday and it's time to do some work on this Astra. So previously you saw that this car had a coolant leak and it just about made it back home. And as you can see, it's had a nasty coolant leak there and down here. And as you can see down there, it's had a bad coolant leak. But look at the coolant expansion tank. So there is still coolant in there from when I topped up the coolant, but there is a massive leak going on there from that coolant expansion tank. I've just bought a replacement coolant tank to replace that one. So let's put this on and monitor the coolant to see if the coolant's going to drop at all. So I've got the grips. Let's open the coolant reservoir or coolant tank. Oh, look at the state of that. So I've got it out. Look at all of that. Looks like it was leaking from there, but I'm going to wipe it off and actually see where it was leaking from. So this coolant tank had a couple of cracks in it. So it's got a crack there, a little crack here. There's also a crack there. I don't know if you guys can see it. So it's got a couple of cracks in it. And you can see that it was leaking pretty bad down there. And this was the fiddly bit. Trying to get this thing back in was a nightmare. The new coolant tank's now in, so let's top up the coolant. Right, the coolant's now topped up. Let's turn the car on to bleed the cooling system. So let's turn it on. Let's put the heater on warm and put it on full blast and wait till it warms up. And let's check for any air bubbles coming through here. So as you can see, there isn't any air bubbles, which is good. So that means that the cooling system is basically bled. So I'm just going on the first drive since changing the coolant tank, and so far so good. The coolant isn't going over temperature. I've also cleaned the interior of the car as well. As you can see, I've also given the interior of the car a really good clean. So this is the car after the car wash, and now it's time to give it a polish. So the paintwork was looking dull after the car wash, so I gave the car a polish to bring the paintwork back to life. This is how it's turned out after the polish, and I must say the car's turned out really well. Look how the paintwork's shining. The car has turned out really nice, and I've given the interior a good clean. A nice clean on the interior. So there you go, this car is now complete and ready for sale. I just need to get the Mazda 2 re-MOT today, and that's it. So it's time to take the Mazda 2 for the re-MOT, so fingers crossed the car passes. So this is the first drive in the Mazda 2 after I fixed it, and not gonna lie, the car drives so much better. So much better. Just arrived at the garage and look how much better the Mazda 2 looks. Off camera, I've given the car a polish and added some tyre shine, and the car's been brought back to life. So I've got both cars complete, which is good, in the same day. And they can both go up for sale now. So the car's now got 12 months MOT, which should make it a lot easier to sell. Don't know which car's gonna sell quicker though, the Mazda 2 or the Vauxhall Astra. So guys, good news, the car has now passed MOT with no advisories. Yes then. I've also given the car a polish, I've put the new hubcaps on, and the car is completely transformed. Look how much better that looks. That actually looks worth some money now. Before, it just looked like a little shit box, not gonna lie. But it actually looks worth some sort of money now. So this is how the car has turned out. Not a bad little car. It drives really well, no issues as well. Nice little car, guys, nice little car. The Mazda 2's just sold, and as you can see, it's only been up for sale for 2 hours and the car's already sold. So I've just listed the cars up for sale, and I've literally already sold the Mazda 2, and I sold it for £1,500. So the Mazda 2 sold first. It is less than I wanted to sell it for, but they were there. It's still profit, and also I need to keep the cars rotating for the content, because I make money off content as well. I don't need to wait out for the biggest profits on the cars sometimes, because I need the content to keep going. So I sold the car, made some profit. So I sold the car for £1,500. I bought it for £800 from BC at auction. With all fees included, the car came up to £1,039. I spent £60 on the MOT. I spent £10 on the hubcaps, and I spent £31 on the control arm. So you do the maths and see the profit that I made. Obviously it's not that much. I think it's like 300 and something pounds. But so I've done the challenge. I've sold that car in 48 hours. Obviously I didn't sell both of them because I still need to do the water pump on the Vauxhall Astra, but the challenge is done. I didn't expect the car to sell within 2 hours of me putting it up for sale, but it's sold. So it feels good when that happens. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, the Astra has another leak. So keep tuned for the next video to see me solve this leak and fix it.